Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Thanks everyone for joining us today. My name is Tim Bagonis. I'm the CMO here at D-Tools, and I'm joined today with Martin Roseman of the MC Group and Seth Enos, product manager for SI. And we're going to talk today about how integrators can add recurring revenue to their mix by utilizing service plans. And we're going to talk a little bit about why that's important for integrators to help their business and create a predictable revenue stream and really provide outstanding customer service for their clients. So let's go ahead and get started. So for those of you who have joined us for webinars before, thank you again for joining us. It's very easy. We'll be presenting today. And there is a questions box, and I encourage you to use that for any questions you may have. We will do our best to answer questions throughout the presentation, but we will have dedicated Q&A time at the end. So if you pose a question and you don't see an answer right away, then we will get to that in the Q&A section at the end. And go ahead and click the little right arrow on your control panel to improve your viewing area on your screen. So a bit about what we'll discuss today is a little bit about D-Tools and the MC Group, and then Martin and I are going to have a conversation about how service plans can really be a key contributor to revenue for integrators, and then how D-Tools SI can help you implement service plans for your business. And then again, we'll have Q&A at the end through the questions window, and this webinar will be recorded and distributed to everyone following the presentation today. So thanks a lot. A little bit about D-Tools. Obviously, if you're in this webinar, you're probably a customer, and if that's the case, thank you very, very much. We appreciate your business. We are celebrating 25 years in business this year, and we're proud of that achievement. We have really tried to help integrators run better businesses since 1998. We launched at CEDIA 1998, and it'll be 25 years this month. Since then, we've grown to help over 7,000 customers in over 90 countries. We take great pride in continuing to improve our products and services. We built a very dedicated team of professional services and customer support representatives, and we continuously work to improve the efficiency of our platform to help you guys. So thank you very much. And I'm going to introduce Martin Roseman, who's with the MC Group, and they're a consultancy firm that really is focused on the AV integrator channel, and we're pleased to have him join us today. Martin?
Thank you, Tim. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Really appreciate it. This is a very important topic. Certainly going forward as an industry, we really need to all be focused on it. So we've been in the industry for a long time, personally over 4 decades, and we work with customers of all sizes across the industry, as well as manufacturers. 22 years setting up service departments. I actually started helping Sony set up service departments in Latin America in 2000, and I got a chance to work with some very innovative companies who came from the small business computer support side and learned a lot about how, service plans and recurring revenue are really key. That, in combination with our history of working with over 500 integrators on their service departments and setting up recurring revenue plans, got us to this point. So that's this particular focus of the company today, is working on service plans and service departments, just getting the whole thing set up properly. So a key thing to consider if you're wondering how important service plans are is the fact that the 12 most profitable companies in America, 8 of them right now are getting most of their profit from subscription services. And just a few years ago, only 2 were. The other 4 of the top 12 most profitable American companies are working on a subscription business model. So I do mix the words subscription services and recurring revenue, or RMR. It's all the same thing, but it's just significant how large corporations are really focused on this part of their business, and obviously that's something we should be doing as well. So a bunch of things that I'd like to call your attention to. So why would you do this? Why would you, really try to build out your service department and have a subscription model? So these are what I consider the top points. First of all, to be sure that you have a high profit center ongoing that helps you offset the commoditization of products and services. We've all been in the industry long enough to know we've lost categories that originally were something we could really make money on, and now it's just a commodity. As the economy goes through ups and downs, let's hope it always stays up, but if there is some sort of a downturn at some point, it's really good stability. I spoke to quite a few integrators from the 2008 recession, and those that came out of it the best really relied on servicing existing customers and their service plans. Additionally, of course, you want to make more money, you want to make more profit. And so I'm seeing sort of the cutting edge companies in service plans and recurring revenue are already getting 10% of their overall company revenue from service plans and 22% of their overall profits. And we help companies get to those points after about a year in the program that we've designed, but even companies that have been doing it on their own have had great success as long as they're following the right expectations and going down the right path. It's also very important to organize your customers from the beginning, from the proposal stage, and have them understand your relationship is going to be 3 phases. You're going to design a system, you're going to install it, and then you're going to offer maintenance and support in an ongoing relationship on into the future. And we want to make sure that your customers understand that there are 3 phases, and you're going to get paid for all 3 phases, and that's how you run your company. So, you're not done when you're done with the last day of installation. You have a new kind of relationship and a new revenue stream. Additionally, not every customer is a VIP. We'd like to treat them all, wonderfully, but the fact is there are some customers that you have that really are the ones that help sustain your business. They are always getting new houses or upgrading their houses. They're very high value. And it's very difficult if you have these high value customers and somebody that just came in for a $20,000 or $30,000 system on a one-time basis. For them, that $20,000 or $30,000 or $50,000 they spent represents an enormous, expenditure, and they feel like they're a VIP. But the fact that somebody spent $1 million, they're really your VIP. And not that you don't want to minimize the relationship with a smaller customer, but you need to kind of assign them to whatever plan they're comfortable in paying for. So when the requests come in, the VIPs get you right away because they're going to be on your best plan. And those that, don't want to spend the money, they'll understand they have to wait a little longer. So you can really focus your attention on the high value customers first. Of course, you want to have a predictable and consistent monthly income stream. That comes from RMR. It's really the only way you can do it in our industry. You want to have more value in your proposals. You want to have a really good business valuation. Even if you don't plan on selling your business today, if somebody puts a valuation on your business, formally, they're going to look at recurring revenue first. And that's going to be the biggest indicator of what your business has in terms of a valuation, whether you're going to eventually sell it or you want to get a loan. And lastly, one of the things that really drove us to create these plans is that if you don't set an expectation of where labor cuts off after somebody completes the sale and you complete the installation, the customer may think you work for them for free forever. And so we highly recommend a 30-day cutoff after a system is done. After that, you should be billing for labor, whether it's per incident, if you don't have plans set up, or if you have plans set up, they kick in on the last day of the installation, and the labor, it might be covered, or it's very clear what's covered and what's not covered. You really have to set that expectation.
Great. And Martin, so what are some of the things that you've seen, and how have you helped many of these companies that may not be that comfortable understanding and knowing what to offer and when to offer it? Where do you guys kind of step in and add some value there?
The biggest obstacle to an integrator rolling out an organized service department and paid service plans is the owner or the person running the company. They're reluctant, based on the history of the organization, because they haven't had it, that they're worried that they're going to, piss off customers, that they're going to have to pay for things that they previously got for free. So I really feel confidently it's in the mind of the owner or the person running the company. That's the reason the company hasn't yet rolled it out. And there's just a lot of unknowns. They don't know how to present it, how to price it. They're just unsure, and that, totally understandable. I mean, I didn't know until I saw a working example of it 18 years ago. And so it's really just, if you get a feel for it, you'll start to see that we have no choice. Every time we put a new system out there, we have somebody else who's going to demand service from us and needs upkeep, and just writing the invoices for a quick call, or keeping track of who needs an update, or scheduling maintenance visits during the year. You just have to organize it. It's really in the mind of the owner, I think. And so in that regard, here's a couple of key points.
So you really have to describe what you're really going to be offering, right? And so you help integrators with that, right?
Yeah, and so we've done it enough times. We see how it needs to be rolled out. So number one, you don't want to drop this at the last minute. Oh, by the way, we have a service plan. No, it's discussed from the very beginning. It's worked into your pitch about your company. So, you're a design, build, and maintain, or a design, build, and monitor company. We want to make that message clear early, that the relationship's not done on the last day of the installation. You're just moving to a new phase of the installation. Then you want to get the messaging straight. You need a consistent message. Well, everybody on your team needs to say the same thing. And so one of my favorite statements, amongst many statements we kind of help people learn, is that the customer should know this: your system will be obsolete before it actually needs serious service or wears out. So we're trying to set the expectation that this is not about the system is not reliable, or the equipment's not high quality, or you don't know how to install and program. It's not an extended warranty. You're not prepaying for service. We spin it differently, and we spin it appropriately to the level of technology we're all dealing with now. These are computer systems, and they require ongoing maintenance. They require updates. So we actually talk about it more in terms of system health and wellness and performance upgrades. Just like an iPhone, you're clicking through those little number ones to keep your apps updated for security and performance purposes. If you have an EV like a Tesla, they're pushing updates to you, which you authorize, but it's actually possible that your Tesla is going to work better and be faster. And so that's what we're really talking about, and that's how we spin it, that this is a health and performance upgrade and ongoing maintenance. It's not about, you're paying for service or prepaying for service, or, we're covering breakage. It's really not about that. Yeah, that's a part of it, but that's not the focus. In addition, in the messaging, we want to show that these plans are robust, and we build in a lot of little options, little benefits into the plans, especially the top plan will have all of them. For example, many customers have a problem finding video footage on the NVR. And they call you up and say, listen, my neighbor just contacted me. It looks like they got broken into. I think you have a camera pointing. Could you help me find the footage? So that's definitely a time commitment for you to do that. So that's something that's built into the plans. It might only be available on a top plan, but that's something that's built in. So we've created 30 odd kind of benefits, things that you might do as a matter of fact, but they take time. So we build them into the plans. If you're on a high enough plan, all of them will be there. If you're on a lower plan, maybe some will be there. But there's two sides to that. Now that you've defined that that's a task, that's part of a plan, it's also a task if they're not on a plan, you can charge for. So we're trying to not only have you have revenue from plans, but if somebody's not on a plan, we want to close the holes, the gaps that you're doing work and not getting paid for. And it's really important to organize this, sooner than later. Let's say yesterday. So another key point of making this acceptable is to simplify it. So we've done a bunch of research to try to figure out how to present this and how many options there should be. And basically, there's 2 fixed price options. That's it. And then be 1 custom plan that's not priced, that the pricing is scalable based on the size of it. So you got to make it really easy to buy. And of course, we'll always present in the materials that the customer sees that there's a no plan. In other words, if they elect not to go on a plan, they're paying per incident. And we want to always compare them side by side with the plan so they understand you pay per incident every time you call in. It could be $150 or $200 an hour, even on the phone, with certain accommodations. But if you're on a plan, you have unlimited remote in capability. So the plans look really good in comparison to somebody staying on paying per incident. So then the pricing. So this is a really key item, of course. So if we have 2 plans, the base plan is going to range in our history of doing this from a low of 19 to a high of 475 a month. That's $475 a month. The mid-tier plan, like the lowest we see out in the market that we put out with over 500 integrators at this point, about 129. That's the lowest number. And the high number on a mid-tier plan right now is $875 a month. And then the top plans typically kick in the all-ins at around $400 or $500 a month, and we have them as high as $9,000 a month. So why this variation? So before we help you set prices for your plans, we're going to figure out, your market, your customers, how you build systems, whether you're more retro or new construction, is it more residential or commercial? We have maybe 20 touch points to figure out pricing. And I'm pretty happy to say that we usually don't miss this. The prices that we recommend, usually the prices that get adopted. And we're now kind of setting, in some form, a national standard because we've done so many integrators. We kind of feel like, we're at the proper pricing structure for each market. And that will continue. Lastly, we make sure you have a proper set of documentation. So you have very professional looking, let's say a brochure that you show online. Your website might need a page touched up. We have a service level agreement to make sure that you're covered for if something goes wrong and you can't fulfill your obligations. Acts of God, customer changes passwords and you can't get in. And you promised, 1-day turnaround. So all that we have written up in an agreement, plus a bunch of other supporting documents, and even a document set that extends what we're talking about on service back to the proposal stage. So you can build into DTools a set of terms and conditions that is comprehensive and also talks about what's going to happen after the job is done. Even a site visit checklist, so your technicians, when they go there, can actually check off boxes for what they've inspected. On screen now is an example of a plan set we built for somebody with some things edited, but you can see a couple of variations on plans. So you'll see the per incident, the essentials, which is the base plan, the up plan, which is premier, and then the concierge, which is priced based on the size of the system. And that's also the all-in plan. There's actually a chart that a customer would see at an appropriate time. We don't actually recommend bringing this out all the time. We have kind of a strategy of when you show this, and everything that's written on the chart is done in a particular order. There's actually, maybe you could say, psychological kind of indicators here. So things are presented in a way that would appeal to a high net worth person.
That's great. That's great. So then, really, what are some key things that integrators should keep in mind as they start to roll these out to their clients?
So I've written a couple of highlights here. So to set the mindset, every new customer proposal has a plan written into it, and it needs to be written in the proper way. And again, D-Tools is great because we can slide our stuff exactly in as we need to. And as we learn things, we feed it back to D-Tools so they make their adjustments as well. So the plans, I've had a service plan for, I'll always remember this one, $59 a month, and the entire job was about $3,500. It was actually for a network in a townhouse. And the guy just, worked at home and wanted to make sure it was going to be up. And we said, okay, we'll put you on a plan to make sure we're monitoring it. So I don't think there's a lower number where you can't put a plan in. It's not only for your full systems. So I recommend every new customer proposal, whether it's a full proposal or an upgrade, should have a plan in it. Number two, somebody in the company needs to act as the service manager, even part-time, even an hour a day. But having somebody assigned to being your service manager is a good thing. And they'd be involved helping to sell plans. Of course, we train them and giving all the touch points to deal with this role. We also do recommend in many cases Parasol. That's, you don't know it, it's part of Snap One now, and it's a help desk service. And we dovetail very nicely with them. And it's really good on the human resource side because they're going to be logging into the systems and doing the regular maintenance. And customers can actually contact them around the clock directly. And they'll be kind of your level one help desk. So that's a nice way to handle let's say the additional need for personnel. Parasol can knock that out quite easily for most integrators. Lastly,
yeah, and there's other services as well, right, Martin, such as OneVision and other services that integrators can look to.
Correct. I don't know much about OneVision. They have a different business model, but yes, they're out there for sure, and they do help us. And additionally, we want to make sure this gets promoted to your existing customers, because new customers, it's great, goes into all proposals, but every customer that's out there in the field you've ever done a system for, ought to be on the list to get converted over. And so we have kind of launch suggestions for that. Newsletters is a good thing, MailChimp, Constant Contact. And lastly, we like in the beginning stage to get this rolling and get everybody's feet wet, to make a list of your top customers that are not on plans, which we assume most of them aren't, your VIPs, and we have some specific techniques on how to contact them directly and get them in. And I'll tell you, if you have 10 VIP customers that you imagine in your mind, your top 10, 3 of them have probably asked you about this already, if not more. And as soon as it's presented, they'll write you a check. They'll pay for the year up front. So it's really nice in the beginning stages to get some fast revenue in, and a significant amount of revenue from these top customers that could be paying you $10,000 to $20,000 for the year up front.
Great. So what are some of the obstacles that you've seen that integrators have, launching service and making that change for their business? I would imagine that some companies are going to be pretty hesitant, given the fact that they've operated a certain way for a long time, and they're a bit afraid of alienating their customers. So what are some things that you've seen, and have you suggested that these guys can get over that hump?
I haven't met a successful integration company where the owner doesn't think that he's the captain of the Titanic when it comes to service and service plans. If they don't have something in place, they have this nagging feeling that they got to do something. They know this is not a sustainable model. They know they're losing money in all sorts of ways on the servicing side. And there's a few that are billing for everything, but it's rare. And most of them it's just not worth it to be on per incident. It's just too much effort. Just get somebody on the plan and have this, be an automated process as much as possible. So number one, the hesitation is really in the mind of the integrator. Your customers are ready for it. It's just, as an industry, we've been based on a different business model for so long. We just have to make that pivot. So your customers want it, and a few, are ready to start right away. So it's just, you have to jump in. But let's try to jump in the right way. And so amongst the things besides what I've stated already, if you have a sales team, You may want to consider a commission program for people signing up for plans. I also want to say things that, provide some hesitations is like a lot of owners and maybe some top salespeople, they're always thinking about that guy who's going to be who's been difficult to work with, and they say, "Oh, he's never going to pay for what we've been giving him for free. We're barely able to keep him happy." No, you can't base your decision to go forward on one or two difficult customers. They're the exception, and if, the worst case is, they may get jettisoned. You may decide, listen, here's an opportunity. I don't want to deal with this guy anymore. He's not going to get on a plan. That's great. We'll recommend another integrator for him. But they're the exception. Don't base your decision on a couple of people that you're unsure of. Most of your high value customers will respect that you are offering this, and they understand this is, they're nervous that you don't have a sustainable business model. They're probably successful business people. They know you need to do it. So, you kind of have to get past this point of your VIP customers not wanting it. In fact, no, they do want it, and they'll be happy that you're finally getting around to doing it. And I would say, follow best practices. You don't want to experiment on this. You want to hit the ground running with the kind of the best direction forward. We can definitely help with the advice. Anybody that's using D-Tools will give, some basic pointers, or we have a program to get people up to speed within 2 weeks with all the best practices and all the documentation.
So great. So thanks, Martin. I think there's some really good advice in there. And, this is really a critical piece of the go forward plan, I think, for any businesses. And I want to segue now into, how you can use System Integrator to help create, define, and present these service plans to your customer. As you know, if you're a current user, SI is a comprehensive end-to-end solution. We really tie together the processes between estimation, system design, project management, and now service to really help you run a better business and keep things organized. And I'd like to introduce now Seth Enos, who's going to do a little overview of some of the service management features in SI. But this demonstration that we're going to show today is really going to be focused on how to create, define, and present a service plan for your clients, and then know that D-Tools SI has the ability for you to manage service orders, keep track of things service-wise for your customers, whether it's part of a project or just as a standalone. And so I'd like to introduce Seth now, who's going to show you kind of how you can start implementing some of the things that Martin and I discussed right now with SI.
Thank you, Tim, and thank you, Martin. I'll go ahead and jump over to System Integrator. Hi, everyone. My name is Seth Enos, and I'm the product manager for D-Tools System Integrator, or SI as we call it. And as Tim mentioned, I'm going to demonstrate our service plans feature. We introduced this probably a couple years ago at this point. Honestly, I can't remember. We've been putting out releases quite frequently, as some of you know, and adding new features constantly. And this one came out, and it was quite well received by our user base, and it's something that was requested for a long, long time. So as with most things, there is an explorer, as we call it, to manage your service plans. And I'll go ahead and take you there. And I have a few examples here that I set up. But service plans, as far as that goes, are very flexible. Now, not everyone is going to follow like a plan like, let's say, that Martin has. You should speak with him and listen to him. But if you choose to do this on your own, you absolutely can come set this up. And we've put a few examples of items out there when we ship the software. But ultimately, everyone has to hone this in for themselves and decide what type of services are you going to offer and how you want to present those to your clients. So as Martin also mentioned, you want to get all new customers, definitely at least present them a service plan as you're selling them at the proposal stage. But you can also go after your existing customers, the ones that have been getting potentially free service from you. It may be time to reel them in and get them on a plan. So these do not have to be linked to a project. The project may not even exist in SI. You may have done it years ago before you came on board with us, but you could still create and present a service plan out of our software to them and manage it through System Integrator. So let's take a look at an open service plan here. And that is the status I'm referring to when I say an open one versus an approved service order. So there is an approval process for these. Your customers obviously have to agree and sign off on these. You may present them different options as you're bidding, and then one of those will become the approved plan that you're able to sell them on. So I'll go ahead and launch this just so you can see. The form should look pretty familiar. We try to keep things consistent here in SI. This one happens to have a client and a project associated with it, but again, project's not necessary. If you take a look here on the general tab here, you can choose a plan length. So we did give the option of setting it for a set number of years or months, but the most popular option we found is the month-to-month option. Don't give it an end date. Keep paying me. So we absolutely have that option here. There's a start and end date here. Again, once you go to approve this, you'll be prompted to choose a start date, and that will again let your customer know when they can expect to be billed for this. Now, what you're seeing down here is an allowable hours field. It's completely optional, but it may be something that you offer as part of your service plan, and you can set the number of hours here and then choose the frequency. And yes, there's a lot of frequencies here. We didn't have this many when we first released the feature, but the requests came in. I honestly don't know how many of our users are billing their clients bi-weekly or bi-monthly, but it's here because it was requested. I just want to point that out. And you can also choose whether or not the service plan will auto renew if it happens to be a set length, or if it's just going to continue on. So there's contacts and addresses, of course, like most of our stuff. You're keeping track of who this is for. We won't get into that. The key thing here is that you're going to create in SI service plan items. These are unique items. Meaning they're specific for service plans. You're not using these anywhere else. They don't come out of your catalog, but you do build a quote unquote catalog of these that live within our service plan module. And here I'm just showing an example of a few options here, but I want to take you in and show you how you would set one of these up. So we'll start just by adding another one here, or attempting to add here, and I'll create a new one just so you can see the fields. So when you're setting up a service plan item, you can give it a name and a description. That's what you saw in the previous screen there. Once again, the frequency, we matched our frequency for those hours here with this list, but common ones, of course, would be monthly or annually. But if you happen to have some sort of service you want to offer differently, you absolutely can. And you can mix these on the same service plan if you'd like. You can have an item that's monthly and another one that's annual. So as long as we specifically say or display that on the reporting, so they would know how they're being billed. It'll be up to you. And again, if you're looking for best practices, speak with Martin on this. So, and ultimately a price. That's what you're coming down here for. We need a price here. What do you want to charge? And again, at what frequency do you want to charge that amount for? Now, you can either just arbitrarily type a price here, $99.99, or 100, just round it up. But it's up to you. Or you can calculate. If you want to calculate this, you can base this off of many things. So if I hit compute here, first you choose a source, and we have all types of fields in here to choose from. Custom fields, project totals, it's your choice, and you can choose whether you're going to base that calculation off of all the value of all your project items, or just items on the service plan. And I'll get to that in a second. What I mean by that is the items on the service plan. But let's go back here and close out of here. But on this particular service plan, I added two options, and just to mix it up so we had some variety on the report. I think I have one of these annually and one of these monthly. Again, you may not do that when you create these, but I did for this example. The project item. So I mentioned this, and I don't happen to have any project items on this particular one. It wasn't necessary, but there's a field in our catalog for items where you can mark product to include on a service plan. And when you create a service plan for that project, we'll prompt you, hey, do you want to add these items there? And it may be the items that are specifically covered by the service plan. Let's say you're offering a service plan for network monitoring that is only going to include the products that are in your networking system, not the other systems that you installed for them. You may want to have those display here so they can see what products are covered, or items, I should say, from the proposal, but it is completely optional whether you list these and display them on the report. So really, though, after what I've just shown you for the service plan items, that establishes the charge, the money that you're going to want to collect from them. Then it comes down to presenting this and reporting. And we try to make this as flexible as possible for our users. Everybody wants to customize reports, but especially you want to customize a service plan because your terms and conditions are going to be very different from other users. So we kind of broke this out in sections to make it more flexible for you, where there's an introduction section, and you can create an RTF file, rich text format file, which means you can have images in here if you like a whole presentation about you as a company and why you're great. Here's a brief introduction here for this example, but you create that. That's the first part of the document. Then there's a optional features set here. Now these don't add any money to the service plan. These are just bullet point items that will display on your service plan report to let the client know what they're receiving. And you can create as many of these as you need. And they just consist of a name and a description. And you can choose the order they display in, completely optional, but it might be nice to, in addition to say your introduction with what they're getting and the description of your service plan items, you may want to list out some more features here so they're well aware of what they're getting and what they're not getting as part of this plan. And then your terms. This can be, of course, this one, Martin provided me a great example here. It's huge. There's a lot of terms and conditions, and that's a good thing. So again, an RTF file here, you may not have images in this one, but you'll want some formatted text perhaps. So that is how you would build these out. And the great thing about these two is once you've built one service plan out, you can create a template of a service plan. And each time you go to create a new one, you could say create from template, and you can have, again, offer different offerings to different clients. So you don't have to go in and say add the items or your introduction and terms. It's already in the template that you're going to use each time you present this. So, well, without further ado, let's go ahead and run a report. And the first one I'm going to show you is just we have a standalone service plan report. And again, you may present this to your users if you, they're existing customers would be a good example of this. Go ahead and run that report, and we'll take a look at what's in this report. So here we go. You have a section up here at the top of your company, and then the client's information. There's the introduction, your plan features that I mentioned, the bullet point list. And if you scroll down a little bit, there's my 2 items. And again, I told you I mixed this up just to have something different on here to show one's monthly, one's annual, and then the terms and conditions down towards the end here. So I'll just keep scrolling, and then a total at the end and some signature fields. And so that's a standalone report. It may be something you present to your client as well, even if they are new customers that you're trying to get on board with the proposal. That's a nice detailed report there that you can present to them. You can also add the service plan information, or some of it, at the end of your actual proposal. So as you're presenting them, the bill of materials that you're showing them and the great stuff you're going to install and program for them, at the end of that, you can have a service plan. So I've already pre-run one of those, but I do want to show you how it's done. Let's go to projects. And so here's my list of projects. It is a report here, client reports, as you guys know if you use SI. And we have here a proposal here. I'm going to choose by location. Just, again, whatever your preference is or whatever your report is. We have the feature built into all of our proposals and line item detail reports. And of course, you may have customized your proposal as well. It'll work with your custom proposals. And when I say it will work, is this feature right here is include service plan in report. It's an option. You tick that box, and then you're going to need to select the service plan. Again, there may be multiple service plans that you may attempt to present over time. In this case, it's just the one we just looked at. So I'll select that, and then you would run in your report. Like I said, I saved time by running it earlier, so I'll just close out of that and pull this up. So here's a proposal for that project. And the bill of materials starts down here. But if I jump over here to page 7, you'll see generally our proposals end with this project summary and then signature lines. But because I chose to add the service plan details here you can see the name of it, what it is. Here's the premier and the preventative maintenance, the two I mixed in there for the example, the plan features, and then signature lines. And of course, if you want more data in here, like again, an intro and all that, you certainly can have that as part of your proposal report or as part of the service plan here. You can customize all of this information. Let me minimize that. And so that's how you can present or create and present service plans out of SI. And there's an additional feature that Tim mentioned it earlier with our service orders. Now, we've had service orders for years, but again, if you're going to send somebody out to do work, or whether it's preventative maintenance or go out there to fix a problem, you create a service order inside of SI. And those service orders can be linked to service plans. I'm going to take us back to the service plan Explorer, and we'll just go down to this. Another example that I had here. When I highlight this one, you'll notice at the bottom here, we have service orders. I just have 2 as an example here. As you know, or maybe don't know, the existing users, service orders are, again, for going out and servicing a project or a job that you've already completed, and you assign technicians to that. You have an estimated hours oftentimes on that. Maybe it should take you 2 hours, but ultimately the technician or the resource is going to create timesheets. Those timesheets will then be approved, and then those hours are then logged against your job costs, of course, like later on, and then reports like that. But in this case, it can be logged against the allowable hours that you have for your service plan. So I just wanted to show an example here of this is an approved service plan where we have a few service orders. Notice there's a tab here that wasn't there before because this only exists when you approve a service plan. And this is how you can add service orders. You can do it directly here. You can also do it anywhere. You can create a service order in the software. There's multiple places. But here I have an example that there's 2 service orders. And down here at the bottom, you'll see that each year, 24 hours were in this plan. Again, one of my random examples I put together. And you can see that 6.25 of those hours have already been used based on the actual hours that have come back to these service orders that have been assigned to this. And it's a good indication for you, that maybe or if you start seeing this getting close, there's 6 months left in the year and they've only got half an hour left of service. They're going to need more. It may be time to contact them and discuss perhaps a different plan that would suit them better. And that is my presentation of how we created the service plan feature in SI, and we're happy to answer any questions. But before I do that, I'd like to make sure that you have information about our presenters here. So let's go here. Martin Roseman, this is his information. Just want to leave that up there for a second. This will be recorded, so you will be able to view this after the fact as well. And then, of course, here is D-Tools.
All right. I want to thank everybody for joining us today. Thank you, Martin. Thank you, Seth.
Thank you.
And have a great day.
All right. Thanks, everyone.